I'm Tom Reed, your committee chair, representing the city of South Pasadena and a couple other cities. We'll go around the room and introduce the other PSTA board members on the committee, starting with our CEO.
Good morning, Brad Miller, CEO of PSTA.
Morning, Mike DeBreezy, City of Largo.
Chris Shear, Pinellas County Commission.
Max McCann, citizen appointee of St. Petersburg.
Barb Hazelton, citizen appointee from the county commission.
All right, thank you, everybody. Now we're moving on to public comment. So this is where there are members of the public who wish to speak on any agenda or non-agenda item. And I have 8 people requesting to speak. Has everybody filled out a card that is intending to speak?
I'm finishing, sorry.
I'm sorry, say again?
There are 2 cards coming.
Okay, 2 more cards coming, so we'll have a total of 10. All right, we will start with our first speaker, Mary Castor. Can you please stand and,
You want me up this way, please?
whatever's convenient for you,
You stay
ma'am.
right there.
We got microphones everywhere.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Well, I'll just come up here.
Well, halfway there now, so. Thank you.
This is a group, this is a group, right?
Yeah,
I like
that.
Good morning.
I need you, excuse me, I just need you to state your name and your address,
My
please.
name is Mary Castor. I live at 13940 Anona Heights Drive, Unit 109, Largo, Florida.
Thank you.
I'm here to express my thoughts on the MOD and am in opposition of the cut of that program. I utilize that system for emergency situations, like if I would have to go to Largo Medical or to a pharmacy to get a last minute prescription. I've used it to go to Morton Plant to assist my sister whose husband was transported there with a critical illness. So it's very important to me to be able to seek services when I need them. And I've been appreciative of the services I've received thus far with the MOD. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I failed to mention at the beginning, everybody will have 3 minutes to speak. Next up, we have Carissa Janis. And feel free to stand there if you'd like.
Okay, so, hi, I'm Carissa Janis. I'm here with my guide dog Ellie. I live at 6300 Dartmouth Avenue North in St. Pete. I wanted to let you know that I'm a person who's not particularly enthusiastic about a lot of things, but I love MOD, so I'm here. I took MOD here this morning, took me 22 minutes. I paid $4.50. Our friend Ross Silvers told me there was one bus I could have potentially taken. It would have taken me 90 minutes to get here, and God knows where I would have had to walk to get to that bus. I have a little information that's very important for me to relay to you, so I've asked Cheryl if she would read the remainder of my statement.
Thank you.
Her statement says, I've been using MOD over the past few years for medical appointments, job interviews, community events, socializing, and religious services. The service has provided me an immense amount of independence and mobility. I don't have to rely on my sighted husband for rides. I'm able to live my life on my own terms. My job interviews resulted in a job with a disability service provider in Tampa. Using TD Tampa Bay was a lifesaver. I work mostly from home, but have used TD Tampa Bay for in-office work meetings and a variety of other work-related activities in Tampa. If I were going to the office this morning, I would pay $6 instead of the basic market rate of $51. I additionally provide a tip based on the market price. Imagine if I had to report to my office 3 work days a week without TD Tampa Bay. With the tip, that would be a $61 trip, excuse me, for a weekly total of $366. With a nonprofit salary, that would make life very difficult, and people with disabilities can't be choosy about which job to take. If we are lucky enough to receive a job offer, we jump at the chance.
Yeah, no,
No.
oh, well, there was more, but it's like,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Next, we have Christine, is it Benoit?
Yes.
Thank you. Would you,
Hello, I'm Christine Benoit. My address is 2738 Roosevelt Boulevard in Clearwater. And I'm a teacher of students with visual impairments. I have spent the last 14 years teaching many students technology to use in the classroom, to use at college, and to use in their career. And approximately 60 to 70% of people with visual impairments are unemployed. So everything I am doing every day in the school system is trying to keep that focus of how are they going to be employed. And I believe that mobility on demand is an efficient mode of transportation when it comes down to them having their careers, just going to the stores. It takes so much, it's more efficient on time. I think it's important that we realize that mobility on demand is just an additional option, is an additional feature. It's not necessarily a luxury. So in the schools, we provide Braille, we provide audio accommodations. Not every single accommodation is going to be used in every situation. I feel like on mobility on demand, for things like emergencies, for things like careers, getting them to and from their jobs, that is crucial in helping them maintain and grow the skills that we start so early on for our students. So thank you for your consideration on mobility on demand. Thank you.
thank you. Next is Mr. Stephen Christen. Did I pronounce that correct?
I got it perfectly.
All right.
Hello, good morning. My name's Steve Christen. I live at 5539 56 Way North in St. Pete. Mobility on demand has given me, helped me retain some of my independence. But more than that, it's a matter of safety. What the decision that you're voting on is going to save lives. Is because for me to get to the bus stop means I navigate through high traffic areas where my mobility instructor has taken me and said, this is unsafe. So for me to get from my house to the bus stop, to the location, when I get to my location, walk to my destination, then come back, cross the street so we can go in the opposite direction. So this is more than, a luxury, something nice for me to have. Do I do it when I go to my doctor? Often when I go to my doctor's office, I don't know how long we'll be waiting in the waiting room. And for additional tests that will have to be made when they say, we're going to go ahead, we have to do this. In an effort to maintain that small amount of vision I have. So my thought I want to leave you with, this is a matter of how many pedestrians get hit. And those are pedestrians who have full vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nancy and I'm sorry, I can't make up the last.
Montcalm, Nancy Montcalm.
Thank you.
MONTCALM.
Appreciate that.
I live at 431 18th Avenue, Indian Rex Beach. I am a orientation mobility specialist for Pinellas County Schools. Much of my job starts in kindergarten. I'm teaching the kids how to get around their classroom independently, get to and from the restroom, get through the lunch line in the cafeteria, navigate their school, navigate their neighborhoods, and ultimately upon graduation, I want to make sure that my students can get to post-secondary education opportunities or work opportunities or social opportunities. The population of people with visual impairment, the biggest part of that disability is mobility, being able to get to where you want to go. As a sighted individual, I have the luxury of driving a car. Somebody calls me and wants to meet for lunch, or there's an emergency or whatever, I just jump in my car. Obviously, our students and adults have the same busy lives as we do as sighted individuals. They just have
a much bigger challenge on how they're gonna get to their destination. So we write individual education plans and goals, and as a mobility instructor, many of my goals are things like to be able to schedule DART or PSTA access, to be able to use the bus system to be able to cross a street so you can get over to the bus system. Those are things, especially here in Pinellas County, to this gentleman's point, there's a lot of big safety issues there. And then also we using mods. So you guys have been leaders in our field. When I go to conferences, they're like, wow, you're from Pinellas County. You guys have an awesome public system. And mod is always spoken of because I'm not sure what the statistics are of how many counties offer that, but we're very lucky in this county to have the options that we have. And like I said, when I go nationwide, we're known out there. So I hope that you'll remain being that kind of leader and providing the support that people need just to live their lives and be successful and contribute to our community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Thalia Goodson.
Hello, everybody.
Name and address, please.
My name is Thalia Goodson. I often go by Malachi. And my address is 14900 Vulture Road South, lot number 1146. And I lost my vision when I was about 13, and I am now a sophomore in high school at 17. Through the last 4 years, I have been learning and working towards being able to use mod someday. So I am not a current user of mod, but I am building the skills with my O&M instructors and vision teachers to be able to use that. I understand that DART and other things like that that require pre-scheduling do exist, but life is often very chaotic, especially for those with disabilities, not just visual impairments. So often things can just change on a dime and suddenly you can't make that ride, or you need that ride to come earlier, but it's already set. So now everything's messed up. And for mobility on demand, like getting to the bus stop, especially for an individual like me who has leg problems, joint instability, and often my vision fades in and out, it is very, very dangerous for me to try and cross streets and get to bus stops with how crazy drivers tend to be. And another thing with the financing things for things like Uber and Lyft, many individuals who have disabilities, not just visual impairments, tend to get really unlucky with things like employment or wages. And even for sighted individuals, minimum wage is incredibly low, and things like rent, utilities, and grocery bills are incredibly high. So something like trying to get to transportation, because they have unfortunately had a limitation that does not let them drive, or they're unable to get to the bus, is not a luxury, it's a necessity, and not something that a lot of people are willing to or have the ability to spend a lot of money on. So I would very much encourage for people who do use mod, for people who will use mod, for people with all sorts of disabilities, please keep mod around.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may make a recommendation, stay active, stay engaged. You're very good at it. Next, we have Leona Williams.
Hello, my name is Leona Williams. I've been using Mobility on Demand for 5 years. My husband passed away. When he passed away, I became my own sole dependent. When I was introduced to Mobility on Demand, that gave me independency. That gave me the opportunity to be able to call for a ride, make it to my doctor's appointments, make it to my eye doctor's appointments. I've had several occasions where I've had emergencies. I woke up in the middle of the night, couldn't barely see nothing, and knew that morning I had to call for my doctor's office to see if I can come in, and they take me as an emergency case. I have to go from Largo to Clearwater to St. Petersburg, wherever the two of my doctors that I have to see to take care of only my eyes alone. I have to make those trips wherever they are. So if having Mobility on Demand gives me the opportunity to make a trip immediately when I need to, first thing that next morning, to wherever office I need to go to. I'm on a fixed income. I have been declared legally blind. I have no way to make other forms of employment. I have had to catch urgent care. I woke up with severe earaches. I have been woke up with severe pain in my stomach, which wasn't a 911 call, where I had to go to urgent care. So having Mobility on Demand gave me the opportunity to make it to those places where I can get care. And not only for my health care, Mobility on Demand helps me with being independent. It also plays a part of my mental state of mind. Being able to know and feel comfortable that I can call someone and I can afford to, you made it possible that I can afford on this fixed income to be able to take care of all the things, go grocery shopping, go to some of the church, because I am a believer in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I have to fellowship with the people and get scriptures so I know how to make my day and walk the steps that God has given me to walk. And with Mobility on Demand, being able to be there for me has made it possible to make me be a full service human being, because I am a soul dependent for myself, for me, and that's all I have. So I ask you to please keep Mobility on Demand available, affordable for individuals like me that solely depend on themselves. And they need that comfort of knowing that they can call and talk to a representative and be able to know exactly who can pick me up, who's gonna be there. My vision, I can't go on the website and call an Uber. I can't see the screen to be able to book a ride to get somewhere. That's how my vision is so impaired. So I would appreciate if you all consider keeping Mobility on Demand. Have the compassion for every person that have any type of disability, because it's not something, it's not fun, it's not a pleasure, it's not a glorious thing to have, no matter what that disability is. So for me, I just want to thank you for listening and consider the needs that we have and to keep our independence and our mental health intact and stable. Thank you very much for listening.
Appreciate you. Next, we're gonna hear from Miss Gloria Corrigan.
Hi, I'm Gloria Lepic Corrigan, and I think a number of you already know me. As you know, I use a lot of the services of PSD. I use fixed route buses, I use Access, I use MOD, and I also use TD Tampa Bay, depending on the need. I moved back to Pinellas County 12 years ago because by that point I was in a wheelchair and I knew that I needed a good infrastructure. We have that. We have that better than a lot of other places do. And it's very important, I feel, that we continue to fund these programs that bring people to our area and support them in their work, their basic everyday lives. I happen to live in a 55+ community, and I'm being generous when I say 55. It's been years since most of the women there have lived that, been 55. And a lot of the people that I live around are women who have lost their husbands. Okay, so they're a lot of single older ladies. I've convinced a lot of them that, you don't have to be driving in Pinellas County. We've got these really good systems. And a number of them are all signed up for Access. And most of them use MOD in conjunction with Access. So that, again, when you go to the doctor's office, you don't know how long it's gonna be. When you go in for a certain procedure, you don't know how long it'll be. MOD will get them back home again in the appropriate amount of time. I'm trying to look what other notes that I wanted to make sure I covered with that. But when I mentioned this to them, that there was an issue that there might not be funding, they were horrified. Please don't let them do that, because it is really what keeps them going, what makes it possible for them not to have to drive and to have those systems in place. In fact, I know for me, in emergencies also, I know one time I broke my ankle, and to try to get to the hospital in a wheelchair was $60 just to go about 2 miles, because I had to use a wheelchair ride. So with something like MOD, we could do it obviously reasonably. And again, these people are not wealthy. These are people that are just their income is not low enough to be TD, but they really are very tight. The one last thing I was going to say is TD Tampa Bay. One of the things I've been pushing for years is the fact that we're the Tampa Bay region, and yet all of you, when you drive, you don't even sort of notice when you're crossing the county lines. You cross into Pasco, you cross into Hillsborough, it's no big deal. Those of us who ride transit know exactly where the county lines are, because if you have one of these little old ladies that is now sick and has to go to Moffett, for example, it's not something that they can do easily, and definitely not inexpensively. If I need to go to Tampa, we're talking over $100 in terms of the costs of using wheelchair transport as a wheelchair user. So again, these programs are so important in keeping us as a functional community and something that draws people to us and services the people that live here. So please keep the funding in place.
Thank you. Joanne Zucker, please.
I don't know why I thought I was next. I was grabbing my cane before you said my name. My name is Joanne Zucker. Many of you also know me. I live at 39650 US 19 North, Unit 421, Tarpon Springs. First off, as I've been here before speaking, I had to make some changes. I had to rely on Access more than MOD. That's fine. I have adjusted. However, there are times when I cannot take Access, because I would then be putting my clients in an awkward position, because I gotta sit outside in the rain, if it's raining, not recently much except yesterday, and wait for them to come home from picking up their kids from school. Or if I made an Access ride to go home and they're coming at the end of the half-hour window or later, which does happen, then again, I'm sitting in their house when they want to have dinner and inconveniencing them, or they say, go sit out in the rain. Although yesterday when I had a client in Oldsmar, they said, we don't want you to go out in the rain, stay here. But I felt like I was putting them out. I can't do Access. Now what happens if I ordered my Access ahead of time and my client cancels last minute because they had to pick up their child from school? This is a true story, because they have pink eye, okay? So I'm stuck at their house and I got to figure out a way to get home, because I'm not going to wait the hour and a half for the regular time show up and then the 2 or 3 hours, okay? Now, if I had to make doctor's appointments, okay, I can't necessarily order Access ahead of time, because again, if I were to, or actually, let me backtrack, I'd have to take a day off or half a day off so that I can schedule 2 or 3 of my appointments in that day, so I'm losing money if I used up my PTO right there. So if my first access ride is late, I miss my appointment, I'm sitting at the doctor's, no appointment, and being charged $100 or more, depending on the type of doctor, for that visit. Oh, I got there so late, I missed my access ride to my next appointment. PSTA, I need a ride I was considered and being a no-show because I was not outside, because I wasn't there in the first place because I was late for my first trip. So they get me a ride, but because I need the ride and they're all booked, and they're not gonna leave me stranded, as they tell me, I have to wait 2 hours for a ride because there's no room in any of the schedules. Well, I just missed my next appointment. I get dinged again for a no-show, twice. Oh, I finally make my third one on time, and they say, oh, you need this medication. They call it into the pharmacy. I cannot call Access, say, I need a ride, because I didn't give them 24 hours notice. MOD is essential. It is needed. And yes, I'm passionate, can you tell? All right? It is essential because of the last minute things that happen in our lives. If I were to fall and break my arm, okay, I need MOD to get there. I'm not even gonna talk about cost, enough people did, okay? There are times too, TD Tampa Bay is awesome. My husband and I use it, and by the way, a lot of the representation here are visually impaired. And thank you for the ma'am, the lady, I don't remember your name, who's here in a wheelchair, because I'm also gonna talk on behalf of my husband, who is
I'm sorry,
wheelchair
your
bound.
3 minutes are up, ma'am.
Oh, my 2 minutes is up,
Three.
okay. Anyways, we use TD Tampa Bay.
Thank you for your input, we
Yep.
really appreciate it.
And need it.
Our last speaker is Walter Meyer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Walter Meyer. I am the current Vice President of Pinellas Council of the Blind. I just want to start off by saying how grateful we are that you provide this service to us, because it restores much of our independence, and we absolutely need that to continue on with our lives. I also use TD Tampa, which is very good. One of my doctors, my eye doctor, moved up to Trinity, and it's important. I like him, I trust him, and I will follow him up to wherever he goes. As far as we absolutely need it. The cuts would not be good. It would devastate all of us, a lot of people, and that's it. That's all I have. I hope that you will continue with this service. It is absolutely necessary to continue our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more speakers, that closes the public comment. I would like to thank everybody for taking the time to come out and speak to us. I speak for everybody on this committee, I think. We all got into public service and do what's best for people. But it helps to have input from everybody that we represent. So thank you for taking the time to come out. It means a lot. Now we'll move on to our action items. Do I have a motion to approve the April 22nd meeting minutes?
Moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now, the issue of the day. Bonnie Sato, Director of Mobility, will present this contract renewal with Uber, Lyft, and Z-Trip, the taxi service. Hello, Bonnie.
Hey, good morning, Finance Committee. I'm Bonnie Sato, Director of Mobility. The action item that I have today is to approve 2-year contracts with 3 one-year options for on-demand services with Z-Trip, Lyft, and Uber for a total contract amount not to exceed $32 million, and authorize the CEO to exercise the 3 one-year options. So PSTA has been operating on-demand services since 2016. We were the first transit agency to partner with Uber back in 2016. Our programs have evolved over the years, but we're currently offering 5 on-demand services. We have our first last mile service, Direct Connect. We have Healthy Hop, which offers seniors trips to health destinations in Tarpon Springs, and that's covered by the city of Tarpon Springs. We have our TD Late Shift service, which provides overnight service to low-income workers with second or third shift jobs. We have our TD Tampa Bay service, which many of the riders here mentioned, which provides TD riders with life-sustaining cross-county rides between Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco counties. Both the TD Tampa Bay service and the TD Late Shift service are covered by the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged Funds. And we also, of course, have our Mobility on Demand program that many people here spoke about, which provides on-demand rides for our paratransit customers and is partially funded by grants. So these services, like all of the riders here mentioned, have really transformed the lives of the riders that use them. Riders can accept overnight jobs and know they have a safe way to get there with our TD Late Shift service, or get to last-minute doctor's appointments that many riders here spoke about with our Mobility on Demand program. The quotes that I have on this slide really echo what the riders here have been saying. They're from our TD Late Shift and MOD riders. Riders really appreciate these services. They know that they're unique to PSTA and very grateful for the services that we offer. These programs really are a part of PSTA's core business and provide low-income riders and riders with disabilities the transportation that they really need. So at our board budget workshop that we had on Friday last week, I shared this same graph, which shows the historical cost of our Mobility on Demand program with Uber and Lyft and the local taxi and local wheelchair providers. This is only one of the programs that we have though, for our mobility department. This graph here shows that the suite of the mobility services that we offer here, the largest cost program that we have in the mobility department is our traditional paratransit service or PSTA Access, again shown in the pink here. Commissioner Nowicki had suggested ending our Mobility on Demand program during that budget workshop and only offer the PSTA Access service to eligible customers. If we get rid of the Mobility on Demand program and these contracts, nearly all of the eligible users of the lower cost program would switch over to the higher cost PSTA Access service shown in this graph here. While some rides would not occur because if the riders were only able to take pre-scheduled services, the vast majority of the rides would switch over and be done at a much greater cost to PSTA and Pinellas taxpayers. The cost per trip on PSTA Access is nearly double the cost of an MOD trip. So back to our RFP, we issued the RFP for these services on March 6th. And we received 6 proposals from Onward Rides, Userve, Lyft, Z-Trip, and Transdev. Procurement staff entered into negotiations with Onward and Userve, but we did not move forward with these vendors to their pricing not conforming to our budget. So our on-demand programs, like I've been talking about and these riders have mentioned, have been very successful. Riders really love and value and appreciate these programs. These programs have given them independence and improved their mobility. These programs also allow PSA to provide these services at a lower cost. Our Mobility on Demand program also frees up capacity on our PSA Access service and allows for more trips overall in the paratransit program. These programs are also well known throughout the transit community for cutting costs and improving mobility. Our Uber contract that we have with PSA and Uber is actually their #1 piggyback contract that they have in the whole country. So again, the action item that I have for you is to approve 2-year contracts with 3 1-year options for on-demand services with Z-Trip, Lyft, and Uber for a total contract amount not to exceed $32 million, and to authorize the CEO to exercise the 3 1-year options. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any questions from the committee? Mr. Scheer?
Yes, thank you, Bonnie. What's the number of riders that we have per year that use this service?
For our Mobility on Demand service, we have probably active riders, 3,000 to 4,000 riders. I can get you an exact number.
The total PSTA Access program carries 500,000 rides a year.
500,000 rides a
All
year.
services. And I think the Mobility on Demand is about 200 and something of those.
Yeah, it's about a 55% now on
Oh.
mobility on demand.
We're doing, you're asking for approval of all three programs, right?
It's all 5 on-demand services.
And the 32 million, does that include the 1-year option period? So is it a 5-year deal or a 2-year deal? I'm confused.
It's like 6 million or, yeah, 6 million a year.
6 million a year, divided by 500,000, is that what we do here, figure out if it's a fair deal?
Well, and the other thing, I was gonna mention, the 32 million, or the cost of this program, the rider pays, $4.50 or $6.
Yeah.
So in total, I think the fare box recovery on this service is north of 20%. The
Higher
riders
than we get on our.
on our regular
Yes.
rides.
Yeah, our regular rides, so. I'm just thinking out loud, I'm trying to figure out what the cost per ride is.
The average cost per ride varies between the services, but a mobility on demand ride is close to around like $18 per trip on average.
And then, a couple other questions, is this a countywide service, anywhere you live in the county, as long as you qualify for the service?
Yes.
You get picked up,
Yes.
thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a
Commissioner
question.
Hazelton?
So, a couple questions. So, as I recall in the past, the demand for this service has escalated so much that you had to put some bumpers on it,
Mhm.
because it was being overused by a certain, percentage of the people, because it was too generous, I should say, it was pretty, so you had to put so many rides, it's gonna be this, so many rides, you have to add that. So I guess one of my questions is there any kind of what are the qualifications? Is there any financial qualifications as far as being qualified to use this service? Do you have any income qualifications?
To use our TD services, there is an income qualification. It's 200% of the federal poverty level or lower.
Right.
So that's like our TD Tampa Bay, our TD late shift service. But for our MOD service, all riders that are approved for our PSA access service are approved for MOD, and there's no income qualification there. But riders do go through a pretty rigorous eligibility process to join the PSA access umbrella of services that MOD is a part of.
Do they have to get a doctor's permit, like with a parking permit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, they have to have
Doctor's
doctor's
recommendation for
information
the
and
service?
signature, yeah.
Yeah, the main program that the speakers were speaking about, the Mobility on Demand program, does not have an income. It is that you have to be a person with a disability that goes through a application process, including a doctor's note, confirming that they have a disability, goes through an in-person consultation with one of our employees, and then we can approve you, or maybe you have some kind of injury, so then you're just temporarily approved for a certain number of months or something like that, or denied. I know Commissioner Nowicki, I talked to him further, was questioning whether or not we could put or should put in an income maximum, concerned that there was very high income people using it. Bonnie showed me a survey that I'm gonna share with Commissioner Nowicki. It was done in 2025 that showed 0% of the survey, and it's not everybody, but the survey shows 0% of the survey respondents made more than $150,000. And the largest income bracket was 40% made under $15,000 a year. So I don't think that there's a lot of high income individuals that are using the service.
Well, I'm really thinking more about the future. Because as I recall, when this first started, like in 15 or 16, or is that true?
16.
That you had to come back, like I think the first was like, 8 million. You had to come back like 2 or 3 times to add more millions, more dollars. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
so you
growing.
came back, you had the first the first approval by the board at that time was for so much. And it just started taking off, and so it came back for more money. And I think we've already spent 32 million on it, if I'm not wrong. We've already allocated 32 million, and now we're to a point where we're, and that was in dribs and drabs, and dribs and drabs is a poor choice of words, but it was this much, and then a couple years later or a year later, it was this much more, and this much more. The board had to revisit it and keep adding
Well, I mean,
dollars.
to be fair, at first it was a pilot. This was,
Yeah.
we were the first ones to ever do this
Uh-huh.
and try this. So it was a pilot. So yes, it went back to the board a number of times in like 2017, 2018 time period.
Uh-huh.
As Bonnie described, this is our, in 2021, the board, we did an RFP and the board approved a 5-year contract. That is ending in 2026 right now.
Right.
The first 5 years of this program under a global contract like this are now ending. I don't think we've had to go back to the PSA board in the last 5 years for these. And then this would be the next 5 years, 32 million, and it would be, that is the maximum amount that all of the company, all of the providers, it would cost. Like I said, the rider pays the fare. That
But what's
offsets
to
part of
say
it.
that you're not gonna come back in a couple years and wanna add more to it again, is I guess where I'm coming.
Well, my thought generally would be that we would look at those guide rails that we implemented before, and those seem to have worked pretty well. That seems to have leveled off the expense.
Yes.
As Bonnie's graph shows there, it's kind of.
Mhm.
And I think we could, if suddenly, this looked like it was gonna go way out of whack, we would maybe implement something like that.
Yeah, we do have the ability to put in guide rails for our different programs. One of the reasons that we've had to come back in years past is because we've added additional programs that we didn't have at the start of the contract. So one of them was our essential workers program that has been long closed, but we provided rides during the pandemic when a lot of our fixed routes weren't running. When we started the contract, our previous 5-year contract, we didn't have our TD Tampa Bay service. So we were, didn't include budget for those programs. We added them later. And like our TD Tampa Bay service, we do get funding from the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged.
Mhm. So, I just, I would like to put on the table that if it continues to grow, now I can see it's leveled off, but if it continues, that we should consider some financial qualification for it. Because it's really a discount program for TNC, if it's perceived that way by the public. Most people don't know about it. So, and then the other thing I was just gonna bring up too, I noticed that, do we have drug and alcohol testing on these ones that we're recommending?
We do not.
We do not. Cause I think that, I saw that, USERV, they do drug and alcohol testing, correct?
They do.
Yeah, and so they didn't make the cut on this 5. They put in a RFP, right?
They put in a proposal, yes.
Yeah, they put in a proposal, and so why would they,
We have a contract with User, or they are part of our paratransit, the regular service as a provider. They turned a proposal for this mobility on demand, and were not chosen because they cost more money than Uber and Lyft. They argue they provide a different product. They provide a drug tested driver that costs money. So this program is completely chosen by the rider. The rider chooses who to provide. Uber, Lyft, taxi. And if in a wheelchair under Lyft, there's a wheelchair provider. There's that. But so to provide to offer a contract to USERV, we felt was not in the best interest of PSTA. One, it costs more money, and then two, it would take away their ability to do our other trips that we need them to do. they're sort of limited in the number of drivers they have in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
So we decided against, that's the same thing we did with Transdev. Transdev is our main provider. They also turned in a proposal for this, but we said no because they cost more money and we need them also for their services.
So I'm just thinking about liability, because we've been just going through this with the ferry.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering about, I'm sure you've run this through the attorney, the PSTA attorney, as far as having perhaps the people sign a document that would hold us harmless.
Well, that's what we do in all of our contracts.
No, I'm talking about the riders.
Oh, well, we can look into that with,
So that we don't get sued for using ride as providers that don't drug and alcohol test.
Good morning, Finance Committee, Al Burns, Procurement Director. Very good point. I just want to elaborate on what Brad said as far as covering our risk if somebody gets injured in one of the vehicles. There are very insurance requirements in this contract are very specific to this type of service. So the rates that we charge, the insurance requirements for another contract are not the same as the rates here. This was vetted by our Director of Risk, Diane Randall, and General Counsel, and we took that into consideration. Also, in this solicitation, there's specific provisions that are unique to Mobility on Demand and the paratransit patrons that we have. So I'm very, very confident that we've covered our risk from a liability perspective. So much so that those are some of the most heavily negotiated items, more so than just price. Those are the items that, matter of fact, I'm still at the table negotiating with General Counsel and the Ubers and the Lyfts. But I can assure you that our risk, if something happens to one of our valued patrons on a trip, is covered. I feel strongly about that.
Do you think that the individuals would mind signing a document? Everyone's come today just to get an opinion.
I mean, we can
I
certainly
mean,
look at that.
if I were the recipient of this service, I wouldn't mind signing a document not holding PSTA harmless in case there was an accident. Am I out of bounds here?
And we can check. I believe that when you sign up for Uber or when you sign up for Lyft, you do some kind of legal waiver.
Like the back of your concert ticket.
Yeah, like that. So we can certainly research that. I mean, that's certainly a good idea. We're looking into doing that on the ferry. So it's something that we can look at to do here too.
That's what I was gonna do.
No,
That's what I was gonna say.
Finish, Commissioner Hale. I'm sorry.
Listening to your comments, Al, was, I was gonna compare it to the ferry where we say somewhat the same thing, where our liability is covered, but with the ferry accident, it's a third party, we know what happened and we know where that led us to. So to Commissioner Hazelton's point is that there are ways that where riders can, have to agree that, they can't hold PSTA responsible for giving them access to something.
Yes, sir.
Versus, it's different with our buses. There are employees, there are buses, and those kinds of things, I get that, but we're giving them access to a third party. So if that's, I think Commissioner Hazelton's very correct on that about, trying to maybe cover that. Anybody can sue for anything, so that doesn't, but like I said, like Vice Mayor said, when you go to a baseball game, you sign on the back of your ticket, you get it with the baseball, it's not the baseball team's fault. You can't go after them, You play golf and something happens, so we could look at the same kind of coverage.
Very good point, Commissioner.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry, Chair. I had just a few more questions because it's new to me a little bit. I heard some of the people on their comments said it picks them up, takes them to the bus stop. Is this to get you from where you need to where you actually need to go, or take you to access to the PSTA system? I was confused, or does it do both?
So I think the program the riders are speaking about takes them directly to their destination. MOD is a curb to curb service. We do have a first last mile program, which does get you to the bus stop.
So the trips themselves are trips that are, is it any trip that you need to take, or is it just certain types? I mean, is it gonna qualify the trip?
No.
Our
No.
mobility on demand program can be any trip type.
Okay.
TD Tampa Bay and TD Tampa Bay needs to be for a life sustaining trip. TD Tampa Bay is for
It is 7 AM to 7 PM?
Yep, Monday through
It ends
Saturday.
at 7 PM. A board member asked me whether or not there was a lot of late night bar rides and so
No.
not after 7.
And how are the vendors paid? Do they get paid per trip or per mile or?
We pay the vendor per trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're looking at me funny like I'm asking crazy, but I just didn't know how it's 32 million, we give them, they get paid per trip and this is a little fund that they draw on every month or?
Yeah, I mean, we pay, how we pay Uber and Lyft is like, just like anyone taking a ride. They have, it's based on demand, but you wanna go from here to here, it's gonna cost you $17. We pay that same rate, and it's charged per trip.
And I'm assuming all these trips count towards our federal trip calculations every year, how much?
Depends.
Yeah, right now, we're not counting our Uber and Lyft rides, but in our new contract, we're going to be able to get that data, meet all the requirements, and count the rides for NTD.
Oh, so we're not doing that, that'd be good to do.
Yes, that is definitely something we were
Contract will allow
looking
us
for
to
in
do
this
it.
contract.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's a chance to
Any
ask
other
questions.
questions? Commissioner McCann?
Confirm for me what PSTA Access does that Mobility on Demand doesn't do. I think, is it the type of vehicle?
Yeah, so PSTA Access is a door-to-door ride. So the driver comes to your door, helps you into the vehicle. They can, carry a grocery bag or something. An MOD ride we call it a curb-to-curb ride. So the driver will pull up, to your driveway or something, and they may assist you, but they're not required to assist you into the vehicle. So MOD isn't for everybody. The riders need to be able to, go out and if they're in a busy place, like look for the driver, communicate with the driver, find the driver, and get themselves into the vehicle and out of the vehicle as well.
MOD can be a vehicle that can handle a wheelchair?
Yes, we do have wheelchair providers.
Okay. I just got a couple of high-level comments, so indulge me for a second. I can't help but point out the statistic that I heard recently, which is 30% of people don't drive for various reasons. Either they're too old, they're too young, they've got a disability, they can't afford a car, or they just don't want to drive. And for decades, we've been designing communities in a way that assumes that everyone is going to drive for every trip. And it leaves out a huge chunk of the population, and it makes it harder for those people to get around. I think if we're really doing a root cause analysis, the fact that we've made it illegal to design communities in a way for people to get around without a car is the real root cause. And this contract is a product of that problem. So until we've fixed that problem, I think this is a necessary way to address some of the unintended consequences of the restrictive laws that we've had for a long time here that have disenfranchised so many people. So I'm going to be supporting this.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, thank you, everybody, for great engaging conversation. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of the contract?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your input, much appreciated. Up next, we've got Kessia Harris, PSTA's Director of IT, with a revised proposal to improve the fare collection and reduce fraud.
Good morning, Finance Committee, Finance Chair. My name is Kessia Harris. I am the IT Director with PSDA, and I am back before you with a new and improved proposal or recommendation to provide fair compliance technology that will not only improve customer experience, but also save PSDA money by reducing fraud while utilizing a federal grant provided specifically to PSDA. PSDA has always been known for innovators. We did that back in 2023 by being the first in state to offer contactless tap to pay on our buses. We are going to take advantage of this innovation while reducing fraud by eliminating Flamingo fare cards. So the recommended action item today is to award an 8-year contract with Compiler for all costs associated with creating and maintaining a fair compliance technology at a cost not to exceed $1 million. This was a highly competitive and selective process, and PSDA was selected and awarded these funds by USDOT because of our proven progress on contactless payment and our ability to demonstrate a robust system that can ensure reduced fare benefits are provided to the correct rider. Again, the goal of this project is to reduce costs, eliminate fraud, and improve customer convenience while getting rid of our outdated reduced fare process. During our updated negotiations with Compiler, we expanded the scope to ensure a more robust verification framework. When this was first presented to you in February, the focus was limited to seniors and veterans. The scope has since grown to include all reduced fare groups, seniors, people with disabilities, Medicare card holders, transportation disadvantage, which is the largest Flamingo fare card holder group, and veterans by using a zero-tap method. PSDA, like all other transit agencies in the US, is required by federal law to offer special groups of customers half-fare options. As mentioned previously, these groups are seniors, people with disabilities, and Medicare card holders. Additionally, the board voted to permit veterans to ride at no cost. This prompted providing veterans with Flamingo cards as well. PSDA and the State Commission of Transportation Disadvantage also created a low-cost bus pass program for lower-income individuals in our community. This too prompted giving these individuals Flamingo cards. All of these reduced fares are implemented by using a Flamingo card, and this is what it looks like. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it before, but just in case, if not, I can just hand it to you and you can
Is this
see
one all charged up?
everybody.
Yeah, is this
No,
I can get to work.
$0. Okay, here are all the prices. Reduced fares are implemented. Here are all the prices for reduced programs offered by PSD. Riders who qualify for one of these discounts must apply for the program and request a plastic Flamingo card at a cost of $3 to PSDA. And the card is coded with their discount. The rider is now free to use this card on any bus. The problem with the Flamingo card program, which is now over 10 years old, is that it is subject to fraud. Meaning a discounted card, say a veteran who has been given this card for him or her to use, can now pass this card on to somebody else who is not a veteran. They essentially pass off a free ride to to additional people the program was not budgeted for to accommodate. Because these reduced fare groups are so large, several thousands of plastic cards are now in circulation across the county. Bus operators have reported instances of riders using these cards that do not appear to belong to them, creating a growing issue of fare enforcement challenges. Over the past few years, PSTA has worked closely with our bus operator and union to strengthen fare compliance and ensure that every rider pays the correct fare. However, the riders presenting Flamingo discount cards that do not belong to them continue to create a fare enforcement challenge. Thanks to recent collaboration with the union, we have already seen increased fare compliance and increase in our fare revenue. There is also a broad agreement that phasing out these Flamingo cards will significantly reduce fraud, continue to increase revenue, and significantly reduce our cost of distributing these Flamingo cards. But there is good news. We already have a system called debit and credit that is being offered on our buses without using a Flamingo card. The use of tap to pay contactless debit and credit, whether on your phone, watch, or card, is already incredibly popular and growing every month. It is so much easier for many of our riders to use the card they already have and quickly tap. Credit and debit are less likely to be fraudulently used, passed around, lost, or sold. Qualifying riders would less likely give their personal debit and credit cards to a non-qualifying rider. The purpose of this initiative is to take advantage of the benefits of credit and debit payments and reduce the use of expensive Flamingo cards to ensure that we enforce payment. Compiler will create the verification process, which is crucial for this to work. They will partner with other government agencies to verify the rider's eligibility and link this information to the rider's debit and credit card. Riders who qualify for reduced fares will be properly vetted. No longer will we have to issue Flamingo fare cards to every reduced rider. This will save PSTA upwards of $50,000 per year in increased revenue from reduced fraud, savings in the cost of issuing a card, and staff overtime hours. All of the expenses associated with implementing and supporting this program will be supported by the grant. The federal government is prioritizing modernizing technology in transit and to make the system more efficient. And PSTA was selected for this grant specifically to advance the transition away from separate plastic cards towards a more convenient, secure, and compliant credit and debit system. This project will establish a fraud prevention framework for fare collection. The experience PSTA has from this project will be shared with other agencies across the nation. At PSTA, we know all grants from the federal government or state government are tax dollars, just like our local funds. So we are always looking to be efficient with the funds. I am very happy with our revised proposal that we negotiated, and I will pass it on to Mr. Al Burns to provide more information on the new and improved proposal.
Thank you.
Can I ask one very quick question?
Sure.
Did I lose track? Students using Flamingo cards? Or are they using their IDs?
Adult
Most of them are using
students.
their IDs.
Pinellas County students are free to ride the bus.
Yeah, I just didn't know if they use Flamingo cards. Okay, they just use their IDs.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Lost track of that one.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee. Forgive me for sitting down. I'm just not feeling myself this morning. As Kessia noted, back in February, you did not approve this item. So what we did was we went back and we met with Compiler, the contractor, and we completely renegotiated a new contract. The things that we did, that we focused on was the length of the project and the scope. Now the project will incorporate all PSTA's discounted fare programs, so we can move on from the Flamingo Fare Card program fully. Additionally, the grant will now cover year one for the implementation, plus 7 additional years of maintenance and upgrades to the software, all under this agreement. PSTA will not have any expense to cover for the first 8 years of implementing this new technology not covered in the FTA grant. Again, the total cost will not exceed the federal $1 million grant, and as you can see by the visual, now the maintenance and upgrades over an 8-year period for this technology will be covered. In summary, the purpose of this technology project is to reduce the cost of the Flamingo Fare program and the way we offer discounts to our customers. And one most important thing is to reduce fraud prevention and improve the customer convenience. The recommended action today is to award an 8-year contract to Compiler LLC for all costs associated with creating and maintaining fare compliance technology at a cost not to exceed the $1 million US DOT SMART grant. Kessie and I would be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Al. Before I open it to questions, let me just get an overview. So $1 million over 8 years is $125,000 a year, all covered by a grant. With the savings of $50,000 a year over the life of the contract, that saved us $400,000. Am I doing my math in my head right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
At least.
All right, thank you. Commissioner McCann?
I'm not sure if this is for Kessia or Al, but I'll talk out loud for a second and then get to my question. $1 million, a lot of money. I like that it's federal money, it's not local money. As I'm sure we all agree, though, still tax dollars. Is this kind of an upfront cost that the federal government is fronting in order to develop something that then is going to be used by other communities? And so us as the guinea pig, it looks like we've got a little bit of a high sticker price here, but really what's going on is that there's a transaction cost or a pilot, a new innovation cost almost here that then is gonna be spread out across the country, and that's why the federal government is okay with this price tag? Am I accurate there?
Yes, you are accurate.
Okay.
The cost includes partnering with the different government agencies to set the initial system up. However, every time you have to verify if somebody qualifies, there is also a cost to that, which goes back to the government.
Because we're kind of inventing the wheel here, but then once this is up and running, other communities will be able to use it more affordably, and so okay.
Correct.
So the only response that I would have to that sort of framing is, yes, this is, we're gonna share the results of this with the rest of the country, but by being able to move on from Flamingo, which is kind of met its life, is just a value of us. I don't know what other agencies are gonna do, if they're gonna get rid of their smart cards or not, but that is a benefit to PSTA.
Commissioner Shero?
Yes, just a few things. I just imagine that we've verified that this new software is gonna interface with our hardware that we already have.
Oh, yeah.
On our, okay,
Yes.
just checking, making sure. How long's the phase out? When are we gonna get rid of these?
It's gonna take a while, I think. I mean, there are like 10,000 of those out there. We'll probably, talk about the project.
Yes, we'll start off with seniors first, so we'll have to phase them out, then we'll start, move over to hopefully veterans. So it's gonna be a phase out process, we cannot just ask people to turn in the card.
Tap
Yeah,
with either your card or your is the way to go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
The dollars that we're saving that we're not gonna spend on the Flamingo card, those come from tax revenues in our general fund, right, to run this system?
Yeah.
So we're gonna use federal dollars and we're gonna be able to save the money that we're, on property taxes, so
And
I
you'll
like the
get,
idea.
you'll get additional revenue for those people who are currently not paying by using the
Yeah,
Roger
right.
card. So that could be significant.
Well, as soon as you can get rid of these, I think getting it in as fast as possible, so.
Our chair left.
The chair left.
Any other questions? I guess not it.
I think it's a great idea, just, we need to get rid of these
That's
cards.
okay. So-
Get rid of the fraud.
Thank you, though. So, yeah, do I have a motion to recommend approval of the contract?
So moved.
So moved.
All in
I'll
favor?
second it.
Okay, gotcha. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Flamingo card?
He wants those back.
No fraud, no fraud.
I'll point out, Kessia, you forgot one category of people who get free rides is PSTA board members on that slide.
Right. Oh, good.
Okay.
On my card.
Okay, so the next is Devin Deal. Hi, Devin. With Ridership Performance Report. Will you go over the new route productivity, please?
Thank you. Good morning, Finance Committee. My name is Devin Deal, Planning and Data Analyst Manager. You will notice in your board packet, you have a new report called the Productivity Report. This report addresses some conversation that's gone on at the board and the staff level over the last few months in an attempt to really try to bring to light how much our services cost PSTA, how much we make on our services, how much it costs to administer a ride. All this granular information the board has been asking for. We tried to create a report that captures all these metrics as best that we can. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through some of the lines in the report. This here, if you don't see it in the packet, is just a screenshot of the report that you see. And so the first column in this report is ridership, right here that we're tracking. The routes are all on the left over here, and then ridership is the first column of data. We measure our ridership in what is called an unlinked passenger trip. This is the standard federal government way that they track a ride. An unlinked passenger trip just means if you're a rider and you take 2 bus rides to get from point A to point B, that is 2 rides for PSTA, even though it's 1 trip. Those are 2 unlinked trips, even though it is 1 single trip. This is how transit agencies around the country count data and report it to the FTA. We here at PSTA are no different. Each of these slides, you're gonna see the top 5 performing routes for each of these categories. These are our top 5 ridership routes for the month of March. You see Sunrunner, over 80,000 rides, followed by the Beach Trolley, which had a really strong bump with our spring break service. We partnered with the city of Clearwater to offer additional service on our trolley routes on the beaches during the spring break time period. And that pays dividends in ridership. We see the Suncoast Beach Trolley nearly double every spring break period in ridership. The next column that you see is passengers per revenue hour. This is a standard measure of productivity in transit. This is for every single hour of service that we offer. How many passengers are we carrying per hour? You can see our top 5 performing routes on the right. Route 60 in Clearwater that operates every 20 minutes from Clearwater Mall to Park Street Terminal. This is one of our most productive routes in the system. It is the most productive in March. Typically, it is the most productive route that you'll see in these reports, followed by the Sunrunner, the Central Avenue Trolley, which travels from Grand Central down to the pier in downtown St. Petersburg. You have Route 34 as our 4th most productive route that travels from Grand Central up US 19 all the way to Clearwater Mall or Largo Transit Center. And you have the Jolly Trolley routes on the beaches in Clearwater. Those aren't typically one of our most productive routes, so they are productive. You see some seasonality in these services. The Jolly Trolley routes really jump to being extremely productive routes during the spring break period compared to the rest of the year. The next column that you see in this report is the operating cost of each individual service. This is calculated by taking PSTA's hourly rate that our finance team calculates every year on essentially what it costs us to offer a single hour of service. Baked into that is the fringe benefits, the driver pay, the maintenance costs, everything like that on a vehicle, and all the staff time that goes into administering a single hour of service. We multiply the number of revenue hours that our routes run by that hourly rate. So this gives us a general picture of what it costs to operate a single route. This isn't necessarily reflective of direct savings if we were to cut a route, because cutting a route doesn't necessarily mean we're cutting staff, which is the number one cost at PSTA. There's a loss in possible ridership and passenger miles, which reduce formula funding, and other things that go into reducing costs. However, this does give you a snapshot of roughly what these routes cost us to operate as an agency. You can see that our top 5 operating cost routes coincide nearly directly with our top 5 ridership routes. The routes that we offer the most service on are where the most people are, where the most destinations are, and those routes get the most ridership. And they tend to have the highest operating costs because of the level of service that we operate on these routes. And the next column that you see is direct revenue. Direct revenue is any time a rider, a partner, or an entity directly pays PSTA for a ride on our service. This is our partnership with our UPass partners. This is the $11 copay that our TD riders pay for their unlimited ride pass per month. This is the $5 day passes. This is the cash that we collect on the fare box. This is our contactless payments with Flamingo and credit cards and things of that nature. So this is anytime a rider or a partner is paying us directly for a ride on our services. You can see that our highest revenue route this month was the Suncoast Beach Trolley, largely due to spring break. Again, ridership doubled on this service, and we do see very heavy tourist activity on these services and a higher amount of contactless payments or tapping with your credit card, where those riders are paying a full fare. And we see that more during the spring break period on the Beach Trolley. We also see a good mix of workers who are transportation disadvantaged or on other discount programs on the Beach Trolley, but especially during spring break, we see a really high portion of those riders using contactless payments paying full fare when they're using the service on the beaches. You see the Sunrunner, this consistently will be in our top 5 direct revenue routes. And then Route 4 is also one of our more frequent routes that travels from PSTA here down 4th Street, all the way down to Pinellas Point on the south end of the county. You have Route 52 that travels here from PSTA to Clearwater on East Bay. You have Route 49 that travels from downtown St. Petersburg through South St. Pete and then all the way up 49th Street, passing through all those job centers and industrial areas and connecting those riders all the way from downtown St. Pete to Largo. And then the column that really gets to the meat of what our board members have been looking at is the subsidy that PSTA pays after our direct revenue to administer a single ride. And so what you see here, these 2 graphs, the top graph is our top 5 routes with the lowest subsidy per ride after you factor in direct revenue. We saw in March, again, thanks to spring break and all the additional riders on those services, the Jolly Trolley Beach routes had the lowest subsidy of all of our routes. Number 2 is Route 60. Again, one of our more productive routes in the system, operates at 20-minute frequency. And then you have the Sunrunner, Route 34, and the Central Avenue Trolley as our lowest subsidized per ride services that we offer. You then see the inverse of that as our top 5 or bottom 5 highest PSTA subsidy after direct revenue. You can see our Snapper on-demand services, our grouper service, the Route 90, which operates down in South Pinellas County. It connects riders in South St. Pete over to St. Pete Beach. And we see a lot of workers utilizing those services. You see Route 300 that connects from Ulmerton Park and Ride on Ulmerton all the way over across the bridge to TPA, as well as onto Marion Street Transit Center in Tampa. And then we have Route 16 that operates in St. Petersburg as well. What you see here, though, is these higher subsidized routes, they also tend to be generally of lower cost to PSTA because we're not operating $600,000 worth of service on these services like we would the Route 4. So it's typically a much lower operating budget. However, due to the lower ridership, they do tend to have a higher net cost per ride. The way you get that cost down per ride is to increase ridership typically for us. The other services as well are also not frequent or not necessarily heavily invested in services that we offer at PSTA. And so again, you tend to see lower ridership and a higher cost per ride on those services. Also, when you look at that report, we did include a few other columns that include the revenue that PSTA receives from the Florida Department of Transportation. We have municipal partnerships with the City of St. Petersburg. They pay for additional frequency on the Sunrunner. We have partnerships with the City of Clearwater during the spring break period. all of the revenue we receive from the state for transportation disadvantaged. We added a few columns after the PSTA subsidy after direct revenue to capture the additional revenue that we receive from these taxpaying entities or from our municipal partners, and then the subsidy that you would see after these additional dollars are factored in. However, we know that kind of getting to the meat of what is our subsidy after revenue, direct revenue is important. We also wanted to include, some of our services do receive a lot of grant revenue and other sources of funding, so we wanted to make sure that we were illuminating that data for you as well. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions or suggestions on this new report.
Thank you, Devin. Are there any questions? Commissioner Shearer?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate, I like this report. This is great information. On the operating costs, what percentage of the operating costs is direct costs and what percentage would be overhead?
Have to look at that.
Debbie, I guess that'd be you. I'm assuming you use the same rate for each one for the overhead and, because you said that it did include overhead, right? I heard that.
Yeah, the employee cost, fringe benefits,
Employee
labor,
costs.
yeah.
All the overhead for I didn't know. So at 50-50,
Oh, no, we're very lean and mean here. So
Okay.
our administrative overhead costs, I can get you a percentage, I
It's
just
like
have to
20
look it
something.
up.
It's 20 something?
so just, okay, well, maybe you can get back to me on that. And then
13%.
you all went over this over the executive committee meeting, right? That I patched onto? On the direct ride per cost?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yes, I mean.
I was wondering, I wanted to know if we reduced, overall our subsidy per ride by $1, what would that translate into what we need to raise our fares by, or what would it mean we need to cut our costs by? I'm trying to.
Yeah. Debbie and I have,
Yeah, back into a lower subsidy. What could we do to cut our subsidy to raise, what is it, 25 million, 10 million? I have no idea. It was like, I didn't get the math done.
Debbie and we'll get back to you. We
All right.
we have both, myself and her staff have come up
Budget
with different
season's
numbers.
coming up, so I thought I'd ask these questions
We don't
now.
agree yet.
On the overhead, that would be good to know what percent of overhead on the direct cost, or the cross.
Yeah,
Which is
well, what you asked at the executive committee when we're trying to kind of estimate is how could we, right now, if you look at this Devin's column, the total subsidy per after direct revenue is $7.61. How can we reduce that by $1?
Right.
That's what you said.
Well,
So-
we have to either increase revenues or lower expenses, so.
Exactly,
But I
so-
don't know how by much, so, by how
We
much.
will have an answer for you.
All right, on that, thanks.
Any
Sorry.
additional questions? All right, thank you, Devin, appreciate it.
Good reports.
Next up is Julie Lupus, our Director of Accounting, going to walk us through the money for the month.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Julie Lucas, Director of Accounting. We're looking at the March financials, and we finished with a 4.5 million net deficit, which was 751,000 favorable to the budgeted deficit. Revenue is 603,000 favorable to budget, driven by the timing of property taxes and the state grant revenue. Expenses are 147,000 favorable to budget, driven by salaries and services expenses. Turning to the March year-to-date financials, we finished with a 39.5 million net surplus, which is 260,000 favorable to the budgeted surplus. Revenue is 705,000 unfavorable, driven by the timing of property taxes and trolley and ferry revenue. Excuse me. Expenses are 966,000 favorable to budget, driven by services expense and privatized transportation. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Julie. Do we have any questions for Julie? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up is Debbie Leas, our CFO, for our quarterly reports.
Thank you. And before I go into the quarterly reports, it's 13.8% is the administrative portion of our expenses here at PSTA.
13.8%,
Pretty darn good.
and the rest of it's all direct.
And then the rest of it's all relates to operations. So in your quarterly reports, you've got a variety of things in there. But one of the ones I'd really like to point out, given the fact that the diesel fuel, which is very volatile these moments, literally not these days, it's by these moments, is we have saved around $847,000 compared to last year, year to date. We lock in approximately 2/3 of our fuel here. We locked in at $2.11. The rest floats to the marketplace. I have the options to lock in for that. Of course, by the time when the war started, things went up so fast, it didn't make sense to lock in. So as we're in the heat of budget season, we're going from probably an average, right now, budget of $2.15 to next year. I was looking at today, right now I've got a placeholder of $3.50. That's probably quite light. I'll probably have to bring it up to about $3.70. Of course, the further out you go, the lower it gets. So that's one of the things I'm really glad that we have a mixed fleet, because right now, because of that, we're saving a significant amount of money compared to others. So it's a strategy I've employed for decades now. So it seems to work, and I always do. That's why I put in your reports what I call a mark-to-market report, so you can see how good are we at guessing what the price of fuel is. So far, we've been pretty good. So other than that, we've got in there your reserve report and your investment report, as well as the quarterly capital reports. I'm welcome to take any questions.
Thank you, Debbie.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
It just struck me how much money we have in investments, $78 million.
Yes, and by the end of the year, we get all of our money, Commissioner, really upfront because it comes through the property taxes. So really within the first 3 to 5 months of the year, that's when we get the majority of our funds in. But then we spend it over the rest of the year. So if you go to the reserve report that I have in there, where we take the money that we have and it goes into different buckets, one of the things that I will point out is we've got money that's contractually restricted, some legal restrictions, and restricted at the board's discretion. You're very familiar with the different areas that you represent. We've got very similar 2 months of operating reserves as well as self-insurance reserves. One of the things at this moment, when I look to see what's the remaining amount of money I have to pay bills according to our budget for the remainder of the year, I need about $39 million. Right now, what's left over is around $36 million. There's about a $3 million difference. Brad and I were just talking about this the other day, because we're still anticipating property tax to come in, should be equal to or a little bit above that. So if we anticipate coming on or close to budget by the end of this year, I will have discretionary funds of around $186,000. That's it. So right now, I look and I go, oh, we're behind the 8 ball. But I know we'll catch up. And as we get into the next part, into October, November, I'm grateful for having the reserves for the 2 months operating reserves, because again, there's a timing difference of when you need the money and when you have the money that comes in from property tax.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any additional questions for Debbie? Okay, thank you so much. Does any committee member have any other business to bring before the committee?
Oh, did you want to talk about health insurance? I'm sorry.
Didn't have that.
It's one of the reports.
Yes.
I'll be very brief. I know we're tight on time. I'm Trish Collins. I'm the Director of Human Resources, and I just had a couple of brief comments about the health insurance report, which is the very last page of the quarterly reports that Debbie just spoke to. The good news is that our second quarter average claims were lower than our first quarter average claims. And in fact, the claims in March were the lowest that we've seen so far this year. So that's good news. However, it does still exceed what we spent last year. The claims are higher than they were last year. So there's an upward trend, but it appears to be leveling off a little bit for this year. We're currently in negotiations with Cigna on our FY27 renewal rate using our wonderful benefits broker, the Garing Group. And we're currently analyzing some options with them that range from a 9 to 12.5% increase. And looking at other comparatives across the country, that is what other employers nationally are seeing as well. So I'll just leave it there. If there are any questions, I'm happy to discuss them, but I know we're
Thank you,
close to
Trish.
the end.
Any questions for Trish? Okay, back to my original questions. Any committee member have any other business before the committee? All right, our next meeting is June 17th at 9 o'clock, and the public hearing for PSTA's federal fiscal year 26 program of projects is going to begin in this room in, well, a minute, 10:30. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.